Good morning, everybody. Today we're here with Tracy from Golden Rose Financial Counseling Coaching. How are you doing today, Tracy?
Brianna, thank you so much for having me. I am doing fantastic, better than I deserve, and it is an honor to be here today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. We're happy to have you on. So to start off, what really interested you? Like being in the military realm, helping military veterans and people in the military. What inspired you to start doing that?
Well, my husband is a combat veteran. He served 6 years in the Army. He did 2 tours to Afghanistan. He got out about 10 years ago, and I remember back in the days of early marriage, we were just winging it. We were super broke, like living paycheck to paycheck. I had to feed us out of a change jar for a week. And I just remember the military life, like how money was a little bit different in the military than it is as a civilian. Like you have people targeting military, like your high interest rate loan shark companies around the bases, your 27% interest car lots. And when my husband was in, we didn't communicate really well about finances. Everything was just mine and his, and just everything was separate. And we had like the collectors calling us and just no plan. Got really, really stressful. And you throw in a couple of deployments in there, and of course, everything breaks on a deployment. So that costs a lot of extra money. I think back to, I know a lot more now that I wish I knew then. So I have such a heart to serve military and veterans because I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, been alongside my husband walking that walk. And I just want to share a message of hope that there is a different way to manage finances and have that financial freedom. So when you get out of the military, you don't have to get out with nothing and have nothing to show for it. And when you're a veteran, you don't have to fall into that cycle of paycheck to paycheck like so many other people in this country do.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it's not always the same, when you get out, you don't know what you're going to get. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. What do you think was the defining moment? Like, hey, I want to start Golden Rose. Do you have like a moment that you remember?
I do. So long story short, if I can tell a little bit of my story, 7 years into our marriage, my husband and I actually got divorced. Finances and communication were a big piece of that. I apologize for my Great Pyrenees barking. The male person is here. So 7 years into our marriage, we actually got divorced. Money and communication was a big part of that. And 9 months later, by the grace of God, we got remarried. And it was during that time we were like, okay, let's do things differently, because clearly the first time didn't work. So we started doing a budget together and paying off debt together and following principles that we had learned in a class called Financial Peace University that we had taken years and years ago. And my husband said, you're really good at this budgeting thing. Why don't you go to school to be an accountant or an investment professional? No offense to those professions. They are highly, highly needed. But sitting behind a desk and crunching numbers for a corporation just seemed soul-sucking to me at the time. So when I saw an ad on Facebook from a guy named Dave Ramsey of being able to walk alongside people who are scared or stressed or anxious about their finances and help them get on that path towards financial freedom, I felt the Lord kind of tapping me on the shoulder and saying, this is what I want you to do. It combines two of my passions of helping people, because the first time I came across that, I was actually working as an emergency medical technician. And it also combines personal finance. And I also add a level of behavior and mindsets and habits around money as well into my coaching practice.
Oh, that's really cool. I was actually going to ask you too. I've seen some of Dave Ramsey's stuff. Do you agree with some of the stuff that he says, or do you disagree with, other things?
I do agree with it. I do agree with the majority of it. Yes. I'd say about 99% of it.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I know he's a big financial guy. I've seen a lot of his stuff, and we've put some of his ideas into our life too. So,
Yay, awesome.
what are some ways that you go about helping these veterans?
The first thing that I do is just have a conversation with them, sit down with them virtually. I love to get to know who they are. I love to get to know what their situation is, where they want to be. What is it that they want that they don't currently have? And then what are some systems and processes and tools and accountability that we can build into that to help them get from where they are to where they want to be? So I work with people one to one for at least 6 months, and we meet twice a month. We create a mission for their money. A lot of people think that budgeting is a 4-letter B word, it's a cuss word. And they're like, no, I'm not doing a budget. I'm not going to have anyone tell me what to do with my money. You're the one telling it where to go. You're the one in charge of being able to tell Benjamin where to sit, where to stay, and where to go. So not only creating that plan, but also creating that mission to get out of debt if that's important to you, to be able to save for life's emergencies, to be able to transition out of the military so you can take some time to decompress and not be flung into the first job that offers you after that you get offered after an interview. And I also love digging deep into the mindsets and the habits and the patterns behind behavior with money. Money is 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge. So I love digging deep to find the root cause and those patterns, bring those to the surface. Because once we know why we behave the way we do, once we understand the connection piece of it, we're able to actually physiologically rewire our brain to create new mindsets and new habits and behaviors with money to break that cycle that's making you feel stuck.
That is pretty cool. What do you think like the main psychological profiles are with people who have a hard time saving or spending too much money?
The reason why people have a hard time saving or spending too much, it's different for so many people. A lot of it might have to do with childhoods. Maybe when they were kids, their parents told them no a lot. So now that they have their own money as an adult, they feel like, hey, I can go get this thing because I can. Or it's the opposite of, hey, my parents didn't have a whole lot. So now I'm going to carry on that scarcity mindset, mostly subconsciously. Or maybe there's some ADHD going on or other stuff that's contributing to impulse. But go ahead.
Go ahead.
Ultimately, what typically happens is most people don't have a plan. They get paid. They know what bills are due. They pay them. And then whatever's left over is a free-for-all. So 3 days after they get paid and all their bills are paid, they feel broke. And it's just a cycle that keeps going.
I honestly had no idea that it was actually that deep rooted. I don't think you ever really think about that when you think about finances. You don't think like that's more of an emotional thing. You think it's money. So that is definitely good to know.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about, rewiring people to think differently?
So I am not a licensed therapist or counselor, first and foremost, although a lot of the questions that I ask can seem like we're in a therapy session. So I'll ask questions like if there's a continued pattern of overspending in a category. I'll ask in a completely non-judgmental way, because remember, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, no judgment from me. Hey, what's going on here? We saw that with clothing, we budgeted 100 and 400 was spent. Tell me a little bit about what happened. And then we'll dig a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. We'll even get into a tool that I've actually picked up from an addictions coach, looking at the patterns of what were you thinking, what were you feeling, what were you doing, and what were you thinking about doing. And being able to journal that out anytime like there's an impulse or overspending, you're able to look back and notice patterns. So you can see, oh man, I actually had a client do this. We did this exercise together. When I'm done with work, because she was in management, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm hangry, and I'm frustrated. She would drive past Target and she would drive past Chick-fil-A. So what did she do? She would go shopping at Target and pick up dinner at Chick-fil-A because she wanted to feel better and she was hungry. When she recognized that those were her patterns, she was able to be like, oh, I recognize this. This is what's causing me to overspend. This is what's preventing me from getting towards my goals. Okay, yes, I have permission to eat at Chick-fil-A up to this dollar amount that I gave myself permission for. Let's do it. Or I get to hold back and stick to my boundaries.
That's awesome. That's a lot of thinking about stuff, like even daily activities that you do that you don't realize that you're doing. So, yeah, definitely. Do you have any tips for people out there, whether it be veterans or just people in general?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the first tip is to find somebody who is farther ahead of you on that journey as an accountability partner. Accountability is not busting out the flip-flop and beating you over the face with it. Accountability is actually when two people or more come together in mutual agreement saying, this is the goal. These are the systems and processes that we want to get there. At this date, we're going to reconvene and say, did it work? Did it not? And non-judgmentally, what worked, what didn't, and what can we change if it didn't work to try again? So finding a good, solid accountability partner. The second is absolutely make a mission for your money. Every dollar that comes into your bank account has a mission. It's called a budget. From there, finding a budgeting method that works best for you so that way you can track your transactions. A spending plan is just, these are my bills, this is how much I'm getting paid, and it's off to the races. That's what Congress does. For the love of all things holy, please don't be like Congress. Track where your money is going. 93% of millionaires still follow a written budget and track their money. The people who are successful at it do it every day to every 2 to 3 days. For some people, that can be really overwhelming, especially at first, because it's like, I don't know where this will go, or there's a lot of avoidance because there's a lot of shame and guilt around finances or around spending. That's another thing that we would work through together. For some people, they wait too long, and then it's like, I have no idea what this Walmart trip is for. I don't even remember going to Walmart. And then it causes frustration. So making a mission for every dollar, tracking your transactions, having an accountability partner, and then also have a roadmap of where you're going with your money.
So would that be like a more of like a 5-year plan or something like that, of that nature?
5-year plan is a great place to start. I like using the 7 baby steps from Dave Ramsey. That first goal is having that $1,000 emergency fund in place. So that way, when Murphy drop kicks you on the face, it doesn't put you farther in debt. You've got some money in the bank to be able to handle the alternator going out, or the sink getting clogged and you got to call the plumber, or the kid getting sick and you've got to go to the doctor. The second step is paying off all of your debt from smallest to largest, listing out all of your debts, paying minimums on all of them except the smallest one. You're not looking at interest rates. You're not looking at monthly payments because those are math problems. Money is behavior. So when you pay minimums on everything and throw everything extra from your budget at that smallest one and you pay it off, it's like, woo, that felt good. And your brain gets a hit of dopamine and there's a slight adrenaline rush and your brain's like, oh, that felt good. Let's do that again. So then you take all of that money from that first one and add it to that second debt that you're already paying the minimum payment on. So by the third or fourth debt, you're throwing big chunks of money at your debt and you can see the progress. And it feels so good to cross that line, across your debt. It's like, I even had a client say, paying off a debt feels just as good, if not better, than actually making a purchase.
I can agree with that, honestly.
Yeah.
We've done the same thing, so, like with Dave Ramsey, so we, were able to do exactly that, and we're really happy with where we are right now.
Yay! Awesome!
I do have another question. I guess it's more of like a question from me in general is with budgeting and stuff like that. I know that there's a way to go about it on paper, writing down your budget and stuff like that. Is there any like apps or websites or anything like that that you use that help you track where you spend?
Yes, absolutely. So for us personally, what my husband and I do is we sit down at the end of the month to plan for the following month. So we're actually getting ready to do our budget here in the next day or two. And we have a key of what all our expenses are. And then we write in things like food and gas and dog medication, all that kind of stuff. And then we pause and ask ourselves, what is different about this month that is not in other months? So like we've got car registration. We're going to the Renaissance Fair. So we're adding extra money into the date day, things like that. From there, we found a budgeting method that works best for us. So for us, that's like the EveryDollar app. There's a free version of the EveryDollar app where you manually type in your transactions. There's a paid version where you can connect your bank account and just drag the transactions from your bank to the line item that it's supposed to go in. I've got clients that are using Mints. I've had clients that are using You Need a Budget. And my accountants love their Excel spreadsheets. Whatever works best for your brain, whatever makes it easy for you, so that way it's not a hindrance to build that habit.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I know there's a lot of different ones out there. So take your pick, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
Do you have anything else that you'd like to add? Maybe some advice or anything of the sorts?
Yeah. So when it comes to money and married couples, I just heard a lot of people go, oof. I find time and time and time again that when it comes to married couples, the spouses have such radically different thoughts or view processes on money. There might be some money trauma from the past. There might be lots of arguing, lots of fighting around finances. So it can be really scary to try to sit down and have that conversation with your spouse. So a lot of people either avoid it or just it's a constant battle. I encourage you and your spouse to sit down together and have a dream date. Honey, where do you want to be in 5 years? What do you want life to look like for us after the military? What do you want life to look like in retirement? This might be really hard for some people who are in survival mode because you can't see past next Tuesday, let alone what 5 years looks like. But try to think about what it is that you want for your lives. And when your spouse is speaking, shut your mouth, listen, and don't judge, and do not interject. You'll get your turn. Then you find the common ground, you find the common goals. So maybe you have different views of retirement. Maybe one person wants to travel the world and the other person wants a cabin on the lake. Okay, how do we do both? What are the systems and processes to get there? What do we need to do today to take those baby steps to move us forward in that direction. And from there, working together, compromising, having a shared vision and shared goals really helps. And having a coach walk alongside of you to help with that communication piece. I've got a client couple where it was literally the first 2 months, we didn't touch the budget. We were literally working on their communication around finances first. They were also working with a marriage counselor too. So coming together, if you need a third party, it would be an honor to talk. I've had a lot of couples say, we can actually have these conversations because we're so much more calm when somebody else is in the room with us.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think, is it's a communication, and you always have to have that communication there. Just to have a conversation, like, it might not even be anything big, but having that communication is really important.
Exactly, exactly. And then just check in with each other throughout the month. Some of my clients have weekly check ins in addition to meeting with me twice a month. Sometimes it's as needed, like when something pops up and my husband and I are like, hey, we could do this thing. Okay, where's it going to come from in the budget? Oh, it can come from here and here. Okay, boom. It's a yes, let's do it. It gets a lot easier over time, especially when you learn to trust each other.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, it was really good having you on today. We appreciate all of your advice and, all the things that you're willing to say to help, other veterans, other people in need, and we would love to, have you back on again sometime.
Brianna, it was an absolute honor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Bye.